everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome back to the Vampire Amazon Challenge in The Sims 4. We are following the reign of Queen Darling Cloudy Snarl, who has recently celebrated the wedding of Prince Zorro and Lady Zuleika. Already, the couple's future is shrouded in uncertainty. Their thoughts don't match at all, but Zuleika can't deny the influence she's gained as a result of this union. In her youth, this arrangement seemed unfair, but as a wiser vampire, she sees the tool Zorro might become for her in this deadly court. Lady Zuleika has ranked up, so I wanted to take a quick look at her new powers. She is now a minor vampire and has the abilities Command, Vampire Creation, and Occult Student. She also has the weakness Thin-Skinned. Okay, we are picking up at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and I wanted to go through the whims of our ladies, especially in the current context, where we do have the new council, which is going to be appointed on the very next day. And I personally feel as though the ladies should be focusing on buttering up the queen right now. So let's go through and see what everyone is feeling, how they might do. Guys, I was thinking a lot about the recent deaths we've been having, and personally, I am okay with the rate of deaths. I mean, some of them are really heartbreaking and surprising when I get attached to a character especially, but the Vampyre court is supposed to be a deadly place. So it does make sense to me that there is so much like murder, death, divine judgment that is happening with these vampires, and I definitely think it makes it more exciting. But when we have some characters, I do get devastated. Like with the Brightpool family, I am not gonna lie, I was not devastated when Shannon and Vampyre died. I was just not. However, I was gutted when Zara died. And right now, I feel as though I am getting very attached to Zuleika. Throughout Zuleika's entire life, I have felt absolutely lukewarm about her, but ever since she became a young adult and entered her evil era, her villain era, I have gotten really attached to her, and I would be devastated if she died. She does have a higher rate of death as well because she just recently manifested the weakness Thin-Skinned, which means she can no longer get perfect resistance and she's going to be more susceptible to the sun. But I guess that kind of just heightens the stakes, doesn't it? So, with Vladislav, we're going to start off with her. She wants to discuss favorite band, so we're going to see who she has the most relationship with. This is the first new council that's going to be appointed ever since Vladislav has entered court and ever since Zuleika has become a young adult, so it would be good if they were trying to chummy up to the queen. This would be their chance to get recognized. This is also the final council that Queen Darling is going to be appointing while she is on the throne. So let's take a look at Vladislav's relationships in the household. She has a 25 with Caleb, a 36 with Lilith, a 16 with Queen Darling, a 2 with Zuleika, a 4 with Nimue, and a -3 with Akira. Okay, she and Akira don't seem to get along too much. So I think Lilith is going to be the one that she discusses favorite band with. Okay, maybe Lilith is the most agreeable because Lilith just doesn't get involved with anything, and she seems to be the perfect bridge for someone who's come from the female faculty and doesn't really know much about the court. Lilith would be an excellent person to learn from without getting too tangled in anything, but also I can see maybe Vladislav not putting too much effort into maybe the queen and Akira because they're going to be members of this court, whereas ladies like Lilith and Caleb are going to serve with Vladislav under the next queen. And she's already friends with Lilith, and Lilith is actually the only friend she currently has. So let's go and discuss favorite band with Lilith, and I think this is going to be her way of maybe discussing the music that maybe Yorick was playing during the wedding, but that is going to be her leeway into asking about Yorick and Zuleika maybe, and the context of the children. I think she would try and talk about this in a smart way, but she would use kind of music as a bit of a bridge to get into all of that. So okay, I'm going to consider this complete. Leave her talking to Lilith. Next up, we have Lady Caleb. Caleb, I am so sorry, but I'm going to have to wake you up. She wants to solve hard problems. Okay, that's perfect. You don't even have to go anywhere. You can just solve your hard problems right over here. Now, Caleb is someone who actually has perfect sun resistance, so we don't ever have to worry about her dying in the sun. The only way that I can foresee her dying right now is going to be if a judgment is called on her. But she seems to have a good enough relationship with everyone that it probably won't be an issue for Caleb. But I think Caleb would have noticed that maybe Zuleika and Zoro had an awkward sort of ambience going on during the wedding, and she's a little bit worried about that, and she's wondering how she can help solve their problems. I think Caleb would have a hard time not meddling because she doesn't want to leave bad relationships to rot. She wants to help fix things or to comfort the youngsters, and I think she does feel an attachment to the younger generation because she used to cook for them a lot. So okay, there is that. I'm gonna consider this done. Moving on to Lady Lilith. Lilith, who is going to see Caleb. They've been spending a lot of time together. I think they've become fast friends. She wants to play the piano, so I'm gonna interpret that as her playing the organ. Why don't we come here and just sit down and maybe play a song? Truly Bad Things. Let's play Truly Bad Things. Yeah, she is going to just play some music. I think these days a lot of what Lilith does is look at the things that are happening around her, and I think she is very perceptive and intuitive, but she doesn't really do anything about it. She doesn't really express her thoughts on the matter. So I think she's playing Truly Bad Things because she can see some truly bad things happening. She probably, after talking to Vladislav, has gotten a bit of a sense that Vladislav has this really strange dark side to her, a darkness that she probably is perceiving in Zuleika as well, and I'm sure Lilith kind of senses that the energy of the castle has been a little bit disturbed, but I don't think she's gonna feel the need to interfere with that. In this way, I feel like she defers to Caleb, who likes taking part and trying to solve problems, but Lilith, she prefers to kind of back off and let time heal everything. So I'm going to consider this done. They do make a good dynamic for that reason. I feel like they're a good balance to each other. Now, Akira. And look, guys, I've gone ahead and put the betrothal portrait of Zuleika and Zoro over here in her mother's quarters. And then their wedding portrait is now out in this particular room. So it's kind of replaced the betrothal portrait they had. So that's kind of nice. A good reminder for everyone. But I can definitely see Zuleika as she's getting older. She did go through in the last couple of episodes a bit of a phase where, she is not happy with Zoro, unwilling to let go of Yorick, or having a hard time maybe coming to terms with the fact that Yorick is over her. But I do think that now that she's properly settling into her villain era, Zuleika, she has gotten +2 influence from marrying Zoro. And the crazy thing is, she now has more influence than the Crown Princess Nimue, because Nimue only has 2 right now. So this marriage has given Zuleika 2 lifetime influence, and then she has a bonus 1 from being a lady. Whereas Nimue doesn't have any lifetime influence, she only has the bonus from being a Crown Princess. She's got 2 bonus. So she can already see, it's like the power is slowly getting to her head. Zuleika can kind of see what her mother was on about when she was younger, why her mother made this match in the first place. She's benefiting from the influence. She's starting to strategize and think ahead. And she's, yes, still not pleased with Zoro, but she can see him as a tool. He might not be the perfect husband for her, but he might be the perfect tool for her to navigate court politics. So there's that. Akira is gonna listen to some summer strut music. I think Akira is just in celebration mode. Literally a continuation of the last episode where we had her daughter's wedding. Why is she's scared? She's freaking out so much, but she is in celebration mode, I think. And I kind of feel like Akira, she did talk to her daughter in the last episode about making the most of this marriage, and I suppose Zuleika has taken it to heart and trying to make everything work. This opportunity has been very hard to come by. Their family did have quite a bit of struggles in the beginning when Zara was around, but they have more or less solved it. And she just hopes Zuleika recognizes the opportunity and the chance she has with Zoro, makes the most use of it. And because Zuleika has kind of been taking Akira's words to heart, I think Akira is feeling a bit more reassured and confident about life going forward. So that is good to see. And finally, with Queen Darling, let's see. Queen Darling wants to do something romantic. Okay, and obviously Caleb is going to be the one for that. So let's go find Caleb. Let's go ahead and let's see. She's too sad for physical intimacy, apparently. But she can give a gloomy compliment. So let's go and do that. Some of you lovelies were actually saying that Darling's attention towards Akira, or even her desire to officially court her, is not necessarily out of a need to appreciate their time together, but it's her trying to cage Caleb in and control Caleb, like she's claiming Caleb in a way, just like she enjoys claiming all the good things for herself, which might be the case. I kind of feel like it's a mix, maybe. She has feelings for Caleb, genuine feelings, but these feelings might stem from a need to control and to claim and to show everyone that she is queen. Now, the interesting thing that I noticed about all the ladies that we just went through for the whims, because we went through the older ladies, the fact that no one had a whim to interact with the queen and no one interacted with the queen, like no one went out of their way to butter her up. But we do have the new council that's going to be appointed. So do these ladies not want to be council, or does the idea of being Queen Darling's final council not hold as much appeal as it did back in the day, like throughout the rest of her reign? I'm not entirely sure, but I find it very, very fascinating. And so I am kind of eager to see who her final council members are going to be. So this is going to be the third council that Darling appoints in her reign, and it's going to be her final one, because after this, or during this council, like she is going to abdicate the throne and give it over to Nimue. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. Also, before I go into any of that, there is something I wanted to talk about in terms of an idea that I was kind of having for our current queen and the amount of influence points she'll have when she abdicates. So I'm thinking I might take into account her total influence at the time of her abdication, and that is going to be essentially the legacy she leaves behind, and that is going to be the standard that the next queen has to work towards. So until Nimue gets more influence points than how much her mother had when she abdicated, she is always going to be in the shadow of Queen Darling, because people are going to make constant comparisons between the old queen and the new one. And Darling has a lot of influence right now. I mean, regardless of the deaths we've been seeing, in terms of the marker of a good vampiric queen and a successful vampiric queen, Darling has done pretty much all of that. She's given birth to 3 daughters. She's won all of the tournaments that have been hosted so far. She is the epitome of being a vampiress and something that everyone looks up to. And so, even with the deaths happening right now, I don't think people blame Darling, because within their culture and their society, the court is supposed to be deadly. So death is just a fact of life. It's a fact of being in the vampiric court. You have to be a very strong and lucky, whatever vampire, to get through and survive. So the deaths are never going to be blamed on the queen. It's just the way they live. But other things, like how many daughters she has, how many tournaments she wins, these are the things that are gonna define whether or not she is a successful queen, and Darling is. So Nimue has a lot to work up to if she wants to get out of her mother's shadow and she wants to be known as a more successful queen. I mean, if she ends up having the same amount of influence as her mother, then she's going to be just as good of a queen as Darling was. If she has less, she's not going to be good enough. And if she has more, then, well, she'll surpass Darling's legacy. But obviously, the more influence a queen has, the harder it is for her successor to live up to that. But I definitely like this system, and I'm intrigued to see how this is going to look across the generations once we start getting more and more queens, because it means that the way society remembers these queens are going to fluctuate across time. But okay, now that we have gone over that, I'm excited to see who the new council is going to be. The morning arrived for Queen Darling to announce her final council. The vampires waited with bated breath to see who would serve as advisors to the queen. Lady Caleb's involvement with Darling was well known, and some wondered if that would be an influence. Others remarked on how successful the Darkpounds family might become if Akira and Zuleika were both chosen. But no one really knew what was going on in the queen's mind. Finally, Darling broke her silence, announcing Lady Caleb and Lady Akira as her final counselors. They had served her well through the court's multiple tragedies in their summer term, and she was reinstating them. Undoubtedly, she wanted to enjoy her final days as queen and keep Caleb close, but she also wanted to honor the recent unity of the Cloudy Snarl and Darkpounds families. We are picking up at 12 p.m. on Sunday. We have just wrapped up the new council's appointment, and the Queen has reinstated Lady Caleb and Akira as her final counselors, which I think speaks to the success of them in their roles. We have had a lot of deaths over the summer season, but it is, I think, been really good the way they have maintained their relationship with the Queen and the Queen's trust in them. So she kind of felt like the best way to end her reign would be to have them by her side. So I think that is very nice as a reward for all the good work and the hard work they've done. And I definitely feel like Akira and Kayla both deserve the position of counselors. That makes me really, really happy for them. So I'm excited, but let's see how some of our court members might feel about this, or what might be going through their heads. I mean, some of their attentions might not necessarily be on the council at all. With Nimue, she wants to be friendly with Lord Yorick, which is actually really good. I think Nimue is definitely starting to think about the fact that are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't even, guys, I feel like all my energy has just been drained. Can you tell my energy has been drained? I was earlier this episode talking about how oh jeez, it just whacked my elbow. I was just talking about earlier in this episode how the deaths are fine. The court is deadly. You know, that is the way of life, which I stand by. But I also made quite clear I would be absolutely devastated if Zuleika died. I would be devastated because I have gotten attached to her. Are you serious? The fact that I wasn't even surprised someone died. Oh my goodness. I feel like at this point, the jump scare of the camera panning over, I have become habituated to it, guys. The game has trained me to just accept it and not even be surprised. But that does not diminish how sad I feel on the inside right now. I was actually excited to see what sort of shenanigans Zuleika would get up to. And to be honest, I actually thought we had a really high chance of potentially Nimue dying and Zuleika becoming a new evil queen and establishing her own dynasty. But are you kidding me? She's died. She died the day, not even the day after her wedding, but like 2 days after her wedding. She has died. The episode after her wedding, she has died. I feel terrible for Akira because this is gonna completely sour and ruin the joy of being counselor. This is gonna absolutely destroy that. But isn't it wild? I think this really does show how cutthroat the court is, though. If you think about it, out of the 5 girls that we had, 4 of them have died. 4 of them have died. Nimue is our crown princess and the last standing girl of Generation 2, who has been like born into the court. And she's the only survivor. That is just wild. But I definitely feel like this is how cutthroat the Vampyre court is and should be. And it completely ties in with the fact that these vampires, when you look at their histories, the family trees, they only record the portraits of vampiresses or vampires who make it to immortality, because that is already a success in itself. Now, Zuleika dying at this point in time is very unfortunate for her, in that she won't be here to use Zoro the way she was wanting to use Zoro. That is so heartbreaking. But she will be remembered. Her appearance will be remembered in history because she made it to immortality. So she died, but she's still considered a successful vampiric child. Before she leaves us and goes, I quickly want to show you guys what her whim was and where I was going with her story, because it was so interesting to me. So Zuleika, guys, we were actually going to after Nimue talk about Zuleika, but I feel as though I have to do her justice. I have to talk about this. And this, in a way, makes her death more tragic to me because I was excited for what was coming. But Zuleika, I noticed, had some romance, or started to have some romance with Zoro. And if you look at their relationship, she has a -2 friendship with Zoro, but a 5 romance. And then she also had the whim to try for a baby with Prince Zoro. Now, this whim is not something that I follow in the Vampire Amazon Challenge. I ignore it because I have my own system for how breeding works, but that is still an interesting aspect of the story for me to take into account, the fact that it was in her mind. And then the whim we were going to work on was practice speaking in the mirror. And the way I interpreted this was Zuleika, taking everything into account, truly sees Zoro, her husband, as someone to use as a tool, as a ladder to climb the social ranks. And she wanted to practice in the mirror how she speaks to Zoro in public and how they appear as a married couple in public so that everyone else thinks everything is fine. And that would have been so fascinating to explore. But I think some of us have also been pointing out the fact that it is almost as though the bloodline deities that are looking over our vampires are very protective of the court of the vampiric empire or the queendom, because anyone who remotely causes any amount of trouble gets killed. And there is no one that is around Zuleika right now, which tells me that this is divine judgment. So Zuleika's own bloodline deity, Dark Pounce, has basically made a divine judgment, or called a divine judgment on her, and summoned her to the stars in punishment for maybe the way or the intention with which she is approaching her marriage with Zoro. I kind of feel like the divine judgments are a way that the feline deities cull the vampires who they think are going to cause problems in the future, or are manipulating the present too much. So they are, in a way, from the stars, nudging the story in a certain direction. And apparently, Dark Pounce felt as though Zuleika was not a part of the story that needed to happen. Oh my goodness. Well, that is certainly chaotic. I was about to say that it's kind of interesting that Nimue is wanting to be friendly with Yorick, because she's actually, I think, feeling now that the end of her mother's reign is coming. She's going to be queen very, very soon. It's like not even that long away, and the prospect is terrifying her, but also she is trying to come to terms with reality, and she is trying to make an effort with Yorick. That is crazy though. Like, Yorick has been through two princesses that he was betrothed to. He is now betrothed to his third. Zorro was betrothed to only one lady or dame this whole time, but his wife dies like almost immediately after their marriage. Oh my goodness. Okay. We need to let this happen, guys. We need to let this happen. Oh, Zuleika. And here comes Akira. And here comes Yorick. Oh, I feel terrible. I mean, this is Yorick's childhood best friend, and this is Akira's daughter, who she was so proud of, who she had so much hope for, and the fact that early in this episode she was even feeling quite confident of the fact that Zuleika had come to terms with, you know, her marriage to Zorro and everything was going to work out. She was feeling hopeful for the future. And guys, the fact that Yorick, he came here, he did see Zuleika's dead body, but then he walked back. He walked back inside after seeing her body. I don't even know where he is right now. Oh, he walked past Nimue, Zorro, and Queen Darling, and he's all the way here, like as far from it as possible. Oh, I kind of wonder with, you know, something like this that is clearly a divine judgment. And I think a lot of the times the vampires, unless they get kind of discovered explicitly by someone, assume a lot of these deaths are divine judgments. I think that's the way a lot of these vampires interpret these deaths. Obviously, not all of them is the case. Like in the thing with the castle fire that happened, like none of that was divine judgment. And any murders that happen. But for recent times, we've been having a few. I think Nydia was the first divine judgment we had, and Shannon was the second. Zuleika is the third divine judgment. But unless these vampires know the truth of why someone is dying, and they know it's not an accident, they're assuming it's divine judgment. So I almost wonder if Yorick, in the end, he didn't choose his friendship with Zuleika because he didn't want to be near someone who he felt had been judged by divine means. He kind of walked back inside, like keeping a distance to himself. And some of you have also been saying that maybe Yorick would say or would see himself as a little bit cursed because everyone he's been betrothed to keeps dying. I almost wonder if he quickly backed away and walked back inside as far from this death as possible because he doesn't want to get bad luck from it. Like, he doesn't want whatever judgment was cast on Zuleika to be passed to him as well. Like, that would be terrible if he were to lose a third match. I think that would be terrible. It would add almost a bit of a stigma to him. He would kind of be known as someone whose matches end up dying. And the other thing, I think it was Ronald the Simmer, you were saying that Nydia may be known, or you had kind of a really interesting nickname for her. Where is she? You were calling Nydia the 2-day heiress, and I actually love that for her. History will never remember the way she looked, but history will always remember the 2-day heiress. I really, really love that nickname. But okay, guys, I was going to go through the whims to see how everyone felt, but I kind of feel like the death pretty much is, a wrap up for the episode. Even more drama. It would be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy if no one, because I feel like this is a possibility where none of the kids or none of the girls from the next generation survive this current one. That would be the case. If that does happen, then obviously a new dynasty, like say something happens to Nimue and she actually dies, then a new dynasty will have to rise from Lilith, Caleb, or Vladislav, right? They would belong to the next court. They would have anyways under Nimue. They don't have any offspring of their own. So from one of them, a new royal dynasty would rise. It would be a shame though if the Cloudy Snarl dynasty died with Darling, considering how successful of a queen she is. But okay guys, with that said and done, I am going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.